Alright, in this time we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting polynomials or rational expressions with unlike denominators. Right? Just like normal fractions, you're looking for a common denominator. Now, finding common denominators, if you do like 1/6 and 1/8, what you usually do is you multiply them together, okay? That's not always a good way to work it, but it's not always the best, okay? The common denominator here is 24. What you really look for is, hey, this is 3 times 2 and this is 4 times 2. They already have the 2 in common, so they only need 1, 2, and then the 3 and the 4, okay, to get to that 24. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to look for factors, and then we're going to see what the common denominator is, then add, and then reduce just like before. Alright, so our first thing is we're going to find the smallest ones between the denominators that create common fractions. In other words, we're looking to say that they have the same denominators. Okay, two fractions that reduce the lowest term. The smallest common denominator is sometimes called the LCD, which is the lowest common denominator, which is the same as the lowest common multiple. Okay, remember, you can always find a common denominator if you multiply them, like 7 and 11. That's 77. You can just multiply the denominators. It works well when it's already simplified and you can't really do much to it, like 1x and 1y, it's going to be xy. Okay, but we're going to try and do it by factoring first. Right? So there is a way to do it. Okay, leave factors and multiply. That is, don't multiply them also. That's one of the biggest things. We're going to do that. If I have two rational expressions, the sum of a over b and d over c, or c over d, well, it's going to be just our common denominator is bd, and it's a times d plus or minus c times b. Okay, remember, this has to go over here, and that has to go over there. Okay, the difference is this the same thing if you've written it as ad minus cb over bd. So if we're going to continue to look at these, we need to look at adding and subtracting all of our other things. We're going to use all these techniques, and it comes down to the idea of, here's what I want to do. We're going to factor, find the LCD, multiply through so that we get our LCD, combine the top, and then our final thing is to reduce. And usually to reduce, we're going to have to factor as usual. By the way, secret of mana, right there. Okay, that's the girl. She doesn't have a name, I think, actually. Alright, so let's take a look at this one. If we take a 3y over 2y minus 6 and 9 over 6 minus 2y, our first step is always to factor if we can. If we factor out a 2 at the bottom, it's y minus 3. Over here, if we factor out, we take out a negative 2, it's y minus 3. So you can see these things are pretty similar. If we take a look at LCD, it's going to be what they share, so that's this. So it better have y minus 3 in it. Okay. They both share a 2, but one of them is negative, so there's kind of like a negative 1 in there. Okay, which can be written as negative 2. Okay, so our goal is to make our bottoms look like this thing right here. So it might be negative 2 instead of 2 times negative 1. If you look, this thing is the same as this, so that doesn't need to change. However, this one over here, well, it's off by a negative sign, so I'm going to multiply it by negative 1 over negative 1, because that's by multiplying by 1. Mathematician trick number 1, which is negative 3y, and then we get negative 2 times y minus 3. Well, we have 9 and negative 2 times y minus 3, common denominators. So now all we got to do is add the tops to it. If we do that, we get negative 3y plus 9. This is all over negative 2y minus 3. We're not done. We just got to see if it reduces. Remember, don't change the denominators. Just keep them the same. If I factor out a negative 3 out of the top, I have y minus 3. And the bottom is negative 2 times y minus 3. Which is nice because if you look, these things cancel. It's negative 3 over 2, which is just 3 halves. Okay? If I take a look at the second one, all right, just a little extra there, we factor again. All right? So step 1, what we want to do is factor. X plus 2, take an x out, it's x minus 1. The other one is minus 6. Well, that's the difference of squares, x plus 1, x minus 1. All right, so now my LCD. Well, they both share an x minus 1. This one has an extra x plus 1. This one has an extra x, so I got to put that in there. Now we got to see what we need to add to both of these. Well, not add, but multiply. Well, this one's got an x and x minus 1, so it needs an x plus 1. Well, if I do it to the bottom, got to do it to the top. Over here, this one needs an x. Well, the top gets an x, which is nice to multiply. All right, combining the tops, so we have to multiply that together. If you FOIL that out, first outer and last, you get x squared plus 3x plus 2. This is all over our new LCD, x minus 1, x plus 1. The other one is minus 6x over x minus 1, x plus 1. All right, from there, all we got to do is now combine the tops. That's x squared plus 3x plus 2 minus 6x. Make sure you distribute the negative. That's a key. Alrighty, so that's x minus 1, x plus 1. After that, all you got to do is simplify the top. X squared minus 3x plus 2 all over x minus 1, x plus 1. And then see if you can factor. Well, it does. Of course it does. X minus 2, x minus 1, x minus 1, x plus 1. Cancel, cancel. And our final answer is x minus 2 over x times x plus 1. We could multiply the bottom out, but you know what? It's okay that way. It's still in simplest form. It's all good. We're good there. Okay? So, all right, let's take a look at the last one. So, the last one we're going to do, I'm just going to move it over here, is we're going to factor again. Y plus 7, y minus 7, okay? Difference of squares, minus 6 over. That factors to y minus 7, y plus 5. Practice of factoring, eventually say, oh, it gives me 35, negative 7, 5. Got to be minus because that's bigger. So that's how I got that, all right? LCD, this wonderful bad boy, LCD. Well, they both share a y minus 7. They also need a y plus 7, and then a y plus 5, okay? This one over here, you just say, hey, what do you need? Well, you need y plus 7. Y plus 7 on this one goes in the top and bottom. This one over here, though, needs, got the plus 7 and the minus 7, it needs the y plus 5. All right, so we're going to distribute to the top. We get 7y plus 35 all over our new LCD. Y minus 7, y plus 7, and y plus 5. All right, over here we're going to do minus 6 times y is 6y plus 42 all over our wonderful LCD. Y minus 7, y plus 7, and y plus 5. Now here's the key. When you subtract, remember, you're changing all the signs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, you're negative and you're negative when I combine these two, and then that becomes a positive. So it's 7y plus 35 minus 6y minus 42. Okay, so that's all over our LCD of y minus 7, y plus 7, and y minus 5. Combining the top round, you get 7 and 6y, subtract to give you 1y. 35 minus 42 is minus 7. Oh, look at the convenience factor. There happens to be a y minus 7 down there. Well, they cancel then. Cancel those out, and you get our simplest form of y plus 7 and y minus 5. Okay? So these are all ones that have different denominators. Let's do the last one I have in my notes, which is this one right here. All right? Break it down in the words of MC Hammer. 2 over 2y minus 1, minus 1 over 2y plus 1, minus, that one factors to 2 over 2y plus 1, and 2y minus 1, okay? Difference of squares, right there, square root, square root. Right, my LCD is pretty much this right here, because that has one, that has the other, and that has both of them in it. So it's 2y plus 1, and 2y minus 1. All right, so the first one needs a 2y plus 1 on it. So You need to do it to both. The second one has a 2y plus 1, so it needs the opposite, 2y minus 1. The third one needs nothing. It has the LCD. So it's 2 over itself. 2y plus 1, 2y minus 1. Alrighty. So after that, all you got to do is distribute. 2 times 2, make sure you do the right number, is 4y plus 2. This one over here becomes, now watch with the negative. I'll make this, if you want to do it, make that a negative there, up there. So it's minus 2y plus 1, so there's that, and then this is a minus 2. Notice I'm also combining all this stuff into 1. You're putting them all over the same LCD, so I rewrite it. 2y minus 1, 2y plus 1. All right, combine the top up, you get 2y, because that takes care of those, 4 minus 2. 2 plus 1 is 3, minus 2 is minus 1. And again, that happens to be one of our terms, which is nice, because then we can cancel those out, and it's 1 over 2y plus 1. Okay? Make sure you're careful, and you should be good there. Alrighty? Talk to you later.